leading the charge to make the 2024 Broker Carrier Summit possible, and we are so excited to have their support. In case you haven't heard, TAFS offers much more than freight factoring. It provides a comprehensive support system for trucking companies of all sizes, specializing in fast and efficient invoice factoring with the ability to pay carriers in as little as 1 hour. And TAFS services go well beyond factoring, offering a fuel card that unlocks major fuel discounts, flexible business loans that are designed to cater to the distinct needs of a carrier's operations, a dedicated, responsive client experience team, and much more. Dawgs Logistics is a 3PL freight brokerage based out of Birmingham, Alabama. Black Box Logistics was formed in 2020 by 3 friends, Logan Dyer, William Graves, and Will Hopkins, in a basement office with the goal of bringing transparency around the clock communication and hassle-free customer experience to the table. LoadBase is a logistics software solution that simplifies the process of tracking carriers. Multi-service fuel card, the industry's first fuel card, was created by an over-the-road truck driver in 1978 to offer a safe, simple, and cost-effective way to handle fuel and trucking expenses. Initially, it addressed safety concerns of carrying cash on the road. Today, it combats advanced fraud with best-in-class technical and personal support. Sales-CRM is built for freight broker and agent sales teams. Manage your shipper prospecting and follow-ups. Organize your carriers in the lanes they run. HD Ships is a leading logistics provider specializing in sustainable and tech-driven freight solutions. With hubs in Reno, Phoenix, and London, we deliver comprehensive services, including full truckload, expedited cross-border, and intermodal freight. Leveraging proprietary technology, we offer 24/7 tracking, real-time visibility, and advanced automation to ensure safe, compliant, and efficient transportation. Our commitment to sustainability enables clients to offset emissions through carbon credits, aligning logistics with environmental goals. At HD Ships, we prioritize transparency, reliability, and exceptional customer service, empowering clients to achieve seamless, sustainable logistics solutions worldwide.
Happy Wednesday. How's it going?
Happy Wednesday, man. It's going good. How are you doing?
Doing good. Live from you're live from Houston, right?
Yeah, live from Houston. I'm at a conference, American Iron and Steel Technology. So from the hotel room.
It's fitting you're at a conference, and we're about to talk about a conference. So it's fitting. I feel like you and I have been like going vice versa on conferences. I went to Broker Carrier Summit. You're going to F3. I'm going to Manifest. I don't know if you're going to Manifest. We've been like going every other one. We're never at the same one.
Yeah, don't have plans for Manifest. I mean, hell, you're going to Columbia for the winter, so.
Yeah. I'll be back though for Manifest. I'll be back. My sister's getting married, so I have to be back at some point too.
Well, did you finally get your passport? You good?
Yeah. Well, on Friday we'll have that finalized. But yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, we're gonna come visit.
Yeah, let's do it. Well, let's get into our sponsors. Multi-service fuel card. They've been around since 1978. Great longevity. If you're a broker, you can have a fuel card as well. Yeah, just great discounts. And we've known several drivers who've used them and had nothing but good things to say.
Yeah, 100%, man. And the cool thing about them, whether you're a carrier or a broker, you can leverage the tools that they have. Great company. And we got Black Box Logistics, my brokerage, based out of Birmingham, Alabama, 3PL. And we got our new sponsor, Loadbase. They're a tracking company. It's Tracking Simplified. If you're in the market for tracking, check them out. Most people think of Macro Point truck tools. Loadbase is a fantastic option.
Yeah, they got a great website too. Really detailed, shows all about the product, and Stan's he's not like a typical type of salesman. He's just a really easygoing guy to talk to. So if you're even just wanting to have a conversation, I highly recommend reaching out to Stan.
100%, man. And they're young guys. They're hungry, and it's great to have some youth in the industry. HD Shipping, do you want to take that one over?
Yeah, HD Ships. We're a growing company based out of Reno. We have a W-2 program and an agent program. I'm in charge of recruiting on the agent side. So if you'd love to talk more about being an agent, I'd love to chat with you. Sales-CRM, I'll let Will touch on this. They were our very first sponsor. They actually reached out to us before we even went live, interested in sponsoring show when they heard Will and I were going to do it. And we got to meet Josh. Will's met him twice, but I got to meet him in Birmingham. Great product, freight-specific CRM. Will actually uses their product. Now, I think they're the only freight-specific CRM I know out there, and they're really getting into the mid-market. A lot of brokerages are using them.
It's a great price point. Funny enough, Josh, Sales Dash, they become a sponsor. And Matt, one day he asked, you guys must have a good CRM if you're not talking to Josh about it. I said, well, we're on Excel. Did a demo with Josh. We were sold immediately. All my people love it. And then we have our banner sponsor, Tafts Capital. Factoring company. Whether you're in the market for a new factoring company, or you just want to know more, they've got great education on their website. Check them out. Good guys over there.
Yeah, great people. I got a chance to hang out with them at the Broker Carrier Summit, which is fitting. We're going to talk about that today with Dan Lindsey. I mean, that conference, we'll get into it, but I mean, it's kind of blown up and keeps growing. And excited to kind of learn more about the roots of it and see what they have going on for Indy in April.
100%. Yeah, I'm seeing Dan, Broker Carrier everywhere. So let's bring Matt on stage. Dan, how are you?
Doing well, Jets. How are you?
Good, man. We can't complain. We appreciate you joining us for the podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's a privilege.
Have you had a chance to recover? It's been a couple of weeks now since the Broker Carrier Summit. I know you said you weren't planning on taking much time off. We're going to get right back to it.
Yeah, I got about 20 hours of sleep on Saturday and Sunday, and I was back at it Monday afternoon. So
that's dedication. Well, if you want
no rest for those of us in freight. So
yes. Yeah. Well, if you want to maybe start, kind of give us maybe your history in logistics, and then kind of how Broker Carrier Summit got started.
Yeah. So logistics is the last industry I ever saw myself being in. My father was a truck driver for UPS for 30 years. I worked for UPS as a preloader, the 3 a.m. to 9 a.m. shift for 6 years out of high school, during college, and my initial time in the Marine Corps. Told my dad I didn't want to go into freight, would never go into logistics. And here I am 23 years later, still hanging around. So I was in the Marine Corps for 8 years. I was a reservist out of Indianapolis. I was in communications there and decided to not make that a career long term, and got into back into logistics at TQL in 2013 as a freight broker. Did not know what a freight was, just saw it as a sales opportunity in a field that I was familiar with. And so decided to try my hand at it. 6 years later, I had developed into a fairly successful broker over there. Had some great relationships with customers, with carriers, but was just burnt out from all the grind of the day-to-day in the brokerage, and decided to take a break from logistics. Went into the consulting world for a supply chain consulting company. Spent a year there doing business development for them. And in March of 2020, decided to start my own brokerage. Me and a partner got together and started Linkage Logistics.
Right in COVID. Great timing there.
Yeah, 14 days before the world shut down. That was a stressful month.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but everything went well. We grew obviously during COVID. We experienced the up and the down, and then it was 2022, and I was at a couple of conferences and just overall still feeling the dissatisfaction that everybody feels in logistics, it seems. I was tired of hearing people complain about the other side, tired of hearing brokers complain about how crappy service they were getting from carriers, tired of hearing carriers complain about brokers taking all their money, and really just decided to do something about it. And so got together with a few people, had a couple of events throughout the year, and decided in January of last year to start something. We didn't really know what it was going to be, but we just said, hey, why don't we just have a one-day symposium where brokers and carriers can come and kind of air their grievances, but also learn about the other side. Maybe they'll leave with a better understanding of what each other does in the industry. And so that was the beginning of the broker carrier. So we didn't have a name for it at the time. It was just a broker carrier meeting thing that we did in Indianapolis in April of 2023. So, and here we are.
Yeah, man. So what I'll say is I really love just how simple and practical the name is, Broker Carrier Summit, right? Because you do see all this discourse for, Facebook groups, LinkedIn, wherever, and there's not really a platform for people to come and get educated, right, about somebody else's point of view, like a healthy, safe environment for us to all come together. And we need more of that in the industry. So we appreciate you.
Yeah, appreciate that. Yeah, and simple is the name of the game. I think a lot of times, especially as creatives, as business owners, we try and overcomplicate things. We found that one of the most successful things you can do is just make things super simple, like drill it down to the brass tacks and let people make of it what they want. So
it sounded like all the carriers I talked to there too. Had a great experience. I remember one carrier I was talking to, he came with his co-owner, and his co-owner had to convince him to come. He wasn't sure if it would be worth it. Never been to a conference. Having dinner with them on the last night, and they were already planning to come to Indy. They had such a great time, met so many people. So I know the feedback from carriers, at least the ones I met, was fantastic.
Yeah, and that's been a shock for us too. We've known something that somebody told us at the first Indianapolis event last April was this conversation is 20 years past due. And they've been waiting their entire career for someone to take the role of leading this conversation between brokers and carriers. And so I think if there's a word, there's so many words that can be used to describe the summit, the event, the movement, the network that we're building. But refreshing is a word that we've heard over and over and over again, and not just from brokers, but also specifically from carriers. Our inbox has been flooded with emails from carriers saying, hey, thank you for doing this. I've never been as excited as I've been about being in freight as I am right now, because I now know people in the industry who are worth working with. And that's just super exciting.
100%. So how do you kind of format your event to aid those conversations, right? These productive conversations for those that are not familiar, have not been to the Broker Carrier Summit. What does it look like?
Yeah. So the rule we typically go by is less presentation and more conversation. One of the reasons why there's this as big of a disconnect as there is between brokers and carriers is because they don't actually have a platform to talk to each other. They talk at each other. They talk past each other. They talk on the phone, or they scream at this guy on Facebook. What we actually try and facilitate is a way in which brokers and carriers can interact together about topics in the industry that are important to both sides. And so most of our sessions are panel discussions, actually. We don't have somebody we have a few keynote addresses in our general sessions, but most of the sessions are panel driven or discussion oriented. And what we try to encourage is for people to actually actively participate in the sessions that they are in. And that's one of the reasons why I think a lot of people walk away from the summit feeling refreshed and feeling encouraged, is because so many of the events that you go to, not just in logistics, but in business in general, you're going to hear someone talk to you about something that they say is important. And it may very well be important, but you don't get as much of an opportunity to interact with that content or interact with the speakers or interact with your competition in the room as you do at the Broker Carrier Summit. It's very discussion oriented.
Man, that's great. So, I mean, I'm at a conference right now, and the difference between a presentation versus a panel discussion where the crowd or the people in attendance are interacting with the person just feels organic. It feels natural. It's candid, and it's much more productive. And I get a lot more out of that, hearing people sit next to me, asking questions in an actual dialogue, as opposed to just a presentation, slideshows. I mean, a lot of the conferences is kind of like the same thing that they present, right? And we need more of those conversations.
Yeah. Well, it comes back to the fundamental question. I ask myself this every single time I went to a conference as an owner of a brokerage or as a sales guy. What do you as an individual and what do you as a company, what do you want to get out of that conference?
Yeah.
And ideally, what you want to get out of the conference, since you're spending money, is you want to get business.
Yeah.
But so many events nowadays are oriented toward education, which is not a bad thing at all. But they're less focused on how that event or that setting can facilitate and foster actual deals getting done. One of the things we get to brag about at the Broker Carrier Summit, specifically in our Lunch and Lanes networking event, is the Broker Carrier Summit is a place where deals get done. We have every summit, we've had carriers come up to us at the end of the last day and say, "Hey, thank you for doing this. I already have trucks over the road. I already signed up with 5 brokers. I already have, our first load delivered for this broker that we met yesterday." And so, if you're a carrier who is looking for brokers to work with, who are worth working with, this is the place to find those. And likewise, if you're a broker who is looking for carriers who are worth hauling your freight, who will help elevate your brand in the eyes of your customers, this is the place to be.
How do you guys go about one thing I haven't heard you be asked before, which I think is interesting, and you guys have done a good job of, is the brokers, the tech companies, they're kind of used to going to conferences. They're all over LinkedIn. How did you guys go about getting so many carriers and increasing the amount of carriers to show up? As I'm sure some carriers are not active on LinkedIn. They're not active on some of these social media sites. Was that more of a challenge, or how did you guys go about, getting them to, attend the conference?
It is, yeah. So I would say, and it goes back to the disconnect between brokers and carriers. Both sides need to, if I can say this, both sides need to own their shit, right? I think brokers in the eyes of carriers have more to own when it comes to issues in their relationship than carriers do sometimes. And so carriers are more hesitant to come to something like this. Plus also, it's more expensive for a carrier to take a driver off the road or take a truck off the road for 2, 3, 4 days to come to an event like this. So how we attract carriers is basically, hey, again, you're going to find customers at this event versus other events. You're going to find customers. Also, a lot of email outreach, a lot of conversations directly one-on-one with carriers. I would say out of 100 people who call us about the summit, 95 of them are carriers. And the one question they have is, why is this worth me going to? And so we get an opportunity to engage with them and talk with them through the benefits. And we've told carriers before, listen, if this is your first year in the industry, second year in the industry, we get where you're at. We understand where you're at. And this is a thing that you should do. But we know the struggles will be in the first 2 or 3 years of being in business, especially in this market, right? And so we'll scholarship you to come. We have brokers, we have tech companies, and the BCS itself. We have a fund set aside where if you're a carrier, you're a newer carrier, we will help fund your ticket to come to the summit because we want you to succeed.
We also have prices too. I mean, I think your prices, I don't know as much about conferences as you do, but your prices are pretty, friendly as opposed to other conferences from a price point. At least that's what I've noticed too.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't make the assumption that I know more about conferences than you do just because I run one. We're learning by the seat of our pants over here. Over here, it seems. Yeah, so we made the joke the other day in our board meeting. We are probably the cheapest, hottest ticket in town when it comes to price point, and that's one of the things that speaks to what we're trying to accomplish as well. Everything at the Broker Carrier Summit is designed to add value. So what we've done is we've taken all the best things that we've had experience with at conferences or events in the past, or even leadership retreats in the past, and said, what do we like about these things? What was the most valuable? We've taken all of that and we've distilled it down. We've gotten rid of all the things that didn't add actual value. Not that those things aren't good; they're fun. It would be great to have a headline musician or two at some of our events. That would be fantastic. But at the same time, at the end of the day, that adds cost, and it doesn't always translate into more value, which is more money in the pockets of the people that are coming to the summit to earn business. And so I think it's really, really one of our best accomplishments is being able to keep the price point where it is.
Well, what is the price point for those listening that aren't familiar? How much does it cost to go to the Broker Carrier Summit?
So a full price ticket for a carrier is $595. That gets you 4 days, full access to the entire event. We also have day passes specifically geared toward carriers. Brokers is $695, and for our $795 full price, and then our tech partners, factoring companies, and support companies is $995. We have early bird pricing going on right now where you save 15% though as well. So
yeah, I was gonna say you guys ran a lot of promotions and have a lot of discounts available, different promotions leading up to the conference too, which is pretty cool.
We do. Plus, we run a fairly lean staff. So up until June, I was the only employee per se of the Broker Carrier Summit. So we don't have an army of people that are on our payroll. We have an army of people who want to help and have helped. I would be remiss if I didn't mention them. But we brought on our second employee in June. Her name is Courtney. She's our event manager, and she's been just doing a fantastic job in helping keeping us organized. But we run a lean ship as well.
I do meet Courtney. Did she come from the industry or just a previous connection, or how's that?
So funny story. She came from the industry. She worked at CH and a couple other companies as well. I actually hired her in my final days at Linkage Logistics as our AP specialist. And when we were deciding whether or not I was going to remain at Linkage, what we were going to do with that, she let me know that she has a degree in event management. Oh. And my thought was, well, hell, you need to come over and help me out over here. So I was able to transition her after we rotated away from Linkage. I was able to transition her over to the BCS pretty seamlessly.
That sounds like a perfect fit. She has a logistics background and an event planning. I mean, you can't get much of a better fit for what you're trying to do.
Dude, we could fill a book with the number of those kinds of events that have happened around the BCS. It's amazing.
Another unique thing too that I know we were kind of talking about unique parts of BCS, and I heard from a lot of tech providers that they actually like this. And again, I'd not been to any other conferences, so I'm just going from what I've heard. But a lot of conferences, they have all these booths here, and you don't get a chance to talk to as many people. The tech providers that I talked to there seem to love the idea of not having a booth because they were able to go out and talk to people, and they weren't waiting for people to come up to them at the booth, which seems like it's a unique idea as well.
Yeah, and that speaks to two things, really. One, I'm not an event planner. It's not my forte. Nobody on the team besides Courtney now is an event planner by trade or vocation, or by trade or training. So that was something that we just came up with as, you know what, why don't we get rid of the booths and not do those? Because again, they don't seem to add a lot of value to the experience of the attendee. But that was a risk. That was a huge risk, because one of the things that you learn when you're putting these things on is sponsorships are how you make these events successful. And they are also how you are able to keep recurring events going. And so you need to make sure that your sponsors and your vendors are taken care of. And that was the one risk that we saw in this was, what are the sponsors going to think about not being able to have a booth? So it was extremely surprising when almost every single one of them come up to us and said, "Hey, thank you for not having booths. Don't ever have booths." So, and the attendees love it as well because they're not having to walk around an exhibit hall with hundreds or dozens or hundreds of people that are trying to sell them stuff as well. So everybody wins. Everybody can win in freight at the same time. So it's amazing.
I think it shows about your mission too, because I mean, it's a big revenue generator having booths too. So not having booths, good for the tech companies, but like you said, it was a risk. So they could kind of, pinpoints kind of your mission too, which is great.
Yeah, well, and it's simple because one of the things booths do. So we could make a bunch of money off of booths from our sponsors. But one, we don't need to do that. Two, I know how much work it takes to plan the BCS as it is. You want to add the logistics of 55 or 60 booths getting delivered, installed, set up. No, sorry, no. I have no desire to do that whatsoever.
Yeah, I mean, in my opinion, the booths are always semi-awkward as well. You've got everybody set up and just kind of prying on people, but the kind of fits your whole, I don't know, feeling of the Broker Carrier Summit, just organic people having genuine conversations as opposed to the booth. So I respect that. I don't mean to go off on a tangent, but I have to ask because I'm not super familiar, but there's a big movement on the certified non-scumbag. Can you dive into that? Tell us what that's about. For anybody that's listening, Dan, I'll let you dive into it.
Yeah, so certified non-scumbag is certified in quotes here. Well, where's the camera? Here we go. Quotes. Certified non-scumbag. The attorneys don't like the word certified. But yes, so the idea around that, and we've gotten some negative pushback on that, but anybody who's been in the industry for longer than 5 minutes knows that one of the huge issues we're facing is fraud, double brokering, and scammers and identity theft. And so one of the things that we found is that by and large, the bad actors in the industry are not going to make the investment in time, in capital, or risk of being exposed by coming to an event that is intentionally designed to weed them out. So one of the things that we do at the summit is we verify every single attendee of the summit. So that if you are associated with a company who's been or found a double brokering in the past, or you have had 15 different MCs in the last 2 months and all that, you're not going to come. We will not allow you to come. So that's where the certified non-scumbag comes in. We're trying to get this name approved. We're launching a certified non-scumbag tour in 2025, where our plan is to hit 12 cities in 12 months and take the Broker Carrier Summit to our attendees, to our members. We're launching that in tandem with our membership network as well. So that's going to be really exciting.
That's exciting, man. If you guys do that, you should come to Birmingham, Alabama. Matt was there a couple weeks ago. It's Magic City. We've got a lot of freight brokers, just a lot of trucking companies. So I need to ask.
Your food game in Birmingham is on point. Yeah,
man. That's what I was telling Matt. Birmingham is a great place to be.
Minneapolis over Birmingham. If you're going to come, pick Minneapolis over Birmingham, bigger city.
Man, even one of our sponsors here, Sales Dash, they call it the Magic City in Birmingham. He kept saying, "I'm looking for the magic, haven't found it." But it's
how many carriers did you have with 15 freight guards, 15 double brokers? Did you have any of those try to get into the conference?
We had a couple over the last year, but we were able to sift them out pretty quickly and refund them their money and tell them to go affectionately pound sand.
There you go. That's fantastic. You got to respect it.
How does the planning work? So you guys, you just finished the last one. You're doing it every 6 months as opposed to a lot of conferences are once a year. So that's probably why the turnaround. Are you guys already pretty much, diving pretty heavily into Indy in April and 2024? Where are you guys kind of at with the, planning stages right now?
Yeah. So that's an evolution in progress. So again, up until July or June, nobody on our team was an event planner by trade. And so we've had to learn all these things kind of off the cuff. Fortunately, with Courtney being on board since June and her being involved in the planning of Fort Worth, we've been able to systematize kind of how we plan. So we already have the venue selected for Indianapolis. We already have the city planned out for the fall, which is Charlotte, North Carolina. We already have the basic skeleton of the agenda put together, as well as a list of speakers that we're going to be reaching out to in the next few weeks to request their involvement again as well. That's something else too. We up until the last 7 or 8 months, we've not really had a lot of recurring resources to go to for, say, speakers or anything like that. So we have over 100, I think 120 speakers now that have spoken at a BCS in the past. And so we have a bank of people who are on board with our mission who would largely love to come and do it again. And so planning gets easier every time you put one of these on.
Are you seeing more too that kind of like the word of mouth, that maybe companies that haven't gone to broker carrier summit because I didn't think it was big enough yet? I mean, you guys kind of exploded, number wise and anticipating, big numbers in Indy. Are you seeing kind of more companies are like, all right, we got to start coming to this, this conference is getting too big to kind of, not miss in that sense? We are. Yeah. And that's one of the reasons why I didn't take a lot of time off after Fort Worth, was because on Monday, I was already getting phone calls and emails saying, hey, we've heard of this for the last 7 or 8 months, but you guys have kind of exploded onto the scene. We want to know about what your mission is, what you're about. How can we get involved? What are your long-term objectives as an event? What are your long-term objectives when it comes to industry change, which is what we're big about? And so it's definitely on people's radar now. Got to make it fun. I mean, not that the beginning, I'm sure that starting it was fun too, but it's got to be fun to just see this upward growth. It is. It's been the most professionally satisfying thing I've done in my career in logistics, hands down.
Well, that's what I was going to ask. How can you compare co-founding a brokerage, running that, to what you're doing now? And backstage, you're kind of saying it is the most fulfilling thing you've done, and it's got to be. I mean, you have purpose behind it, so it's a beautiful thing. But how can you compare your previous experience to what you're doing now?
It's a great question. I don't know if I have a cogent answer for it, but one of the things I will say is one of the things we talk about in sales all the time when you're training salespeople. What's one of the first things we talk about when you're training salespeople? It's, what is your why? Right? And I would say my why in starting a brokerage was to build a successful company, build a successful business, provide for my family, and provide for my team. That was compelling. It was compelling enough to get me out of bed at 4 a.m. every day and do the broker thing until midnight or 1 a.m. whenever I ended up going to sleep. The why behind the Broker Carrier Summit has moved into more of a what kind of an impact do you want to have on the industry at large? And that is a much more compelling reason to get me up out of bed in the morning. So it's shifted from an internal motivation to an external motivation. How can we make the biggest, best impact that we can on the freight industry?
Very cool.
Well, I guess one question too is kind of been talking so much about the past and the present with Indy. What's kind of your long-term goals with Broker Carrier Summit? I mean, a couple of years from now, or what's kind of your vision long-term for this?
Yeah. So in Tampa last year, so our October conference last year was in Tampa, Florida. And we began that summit with the thought that the future of logistics is partnership. And that is true. I believe that is true. The future of the freight industry depends on quality, mutually agreeable partnerships, mutually beneficial partnerships. At the same time, we came to understand that what the industry needed was not just another annual or semi-annual event. There are plenty of those. What the industry needs is a new kind of community, a new kind of network. And so long-term, we're going to keep the semi-annual summits. We're going to build on those and have more regional and more local events as well. But ultimately, we want to build the most trusted network in the freight industry. And so that's one of the things we're kind of shifting a little bit in our strategy in 2025 is we're rolling out the opportunity for people to become not just attendees of the Broker Carrier Summit, but members of the BCS Freight Network. That comes for brokers and carriers that can participate in our member portal, as well as vendors. We're going to have and build a preferred vendor network of logistics support companies, factoring companies, tech companies, insurance companies that our network, our membership network can go to for their needs. And they can do that with the understanding that those companies have been vetted by the BCS, and they are a trusted partner that's focused on, among other things, building quality partnerships between brokers and carriers.
How do you do that, deciding which companies? It might be difficult because there's probably, I don't know, 20 TMS companies that probably all think that they're, the best TMS company. Same thing with, some other industries. They're all reputable, solid companies, but everyone actually has a much different opinion, rightfully so, on, what's, the TMS. Or I could think of a couple other industries like that too. Is that going to be kind of challenging to, take 2 or 3 from that group, or how do you guys kind of plan on going about that?
It could be, yeah. And it comes down to a few conversations that we have with all of our partners is one, who's your ideal customer? And understanding that. So we use TMS companies as an example. We have TMS partners and sponsors that speak to and serve different areas, different niches in the industry. And so that, more than anything, is what I think the conversation starts with when it comes to our vendors. At the same time, as the BCS, we are able to be agnostic with all of our partners. Listen, these are the benefits these companies offer. We basically we're building out a comparison tool that our members can go online and look at and say, okay, this is the fact sheet for this TMS provider. This is the fact sheet for this TMS provider. This is the niche that this TMS provider serves. This is the niche that this one serves. That way, we can be an agnostic presenter of the facts without having to sell one over the other, because that's not our job.
So it sounds like it's mainly a resource, right, for somebody to come in and see the options. And that aligns with what you're trying to do with the Broker Carrier Summit, with these conversations and just educational between people, right? It's not just hey, pick this TMS. These are the options, certified non-scumbag. We know they've been in business for however long, and this is what they do, and make your own decision. So, yeah, that's fantastic.
Correct. Yep.
Well, we appreciate having the conversation with us today, Dan. And we'll have to have you on, closer to Indy, maybe sometime in March. And I know I had a great time at the last one. Plan on going in April, and I plan on convincing Will to get down there for the next one in April. So
yeah, absolutely, you should. Yeah. Indianapolis is going to represent. We can't drop the ball in my hometown, so it's going to be great.
Fantastic. We'll put on the calendar.
I think you froze, Will, but no. Thanks again for coming on, Dan, and we'll be in touch, I'm sure, as the future months come on, and love to see what you're got going on and what you've done so far at BCS.
Yeah, appreciate you guys. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Dan.
That was fun.
Yeah, no, that's good, man. They're doing exciting things over at Broker Carrier Summit.
Yeah, it was a really good conference. Like I said, I went to it, got to meet Dan in person. Great guy, great team they had around, and I had a lot of fun for my first conference. So it's going to put high expectations for other conferences I go to. But shout out to our sponsors again, Multi-Service Fuel Card. They were at the Broker Carrier Summit, got to meet them. Great people. Jessica, Patricia over there works for brokers or carriers. Black Box, Will's company. I've got to visit their office. Great organization if you're looking to be a W-2 employee in Birmingham.
Yeah, the Magic City. We got Loadbase as a new sponsor. It's tracking simplified. So any brokers looking for a change, MacroPoint, Trucker Tools, the main two. But Loadbase is on the rise. Young guys, they're hungry. It's great software.
Check out their site. Really well put together site. They'll happy to do a demo with you. Happy to just have a conversation with you. Yeah, definitely reach out to Stan and tell them Will and Matt sent them. Yeah,
great group. I'll let you take HT Ships.
HT Ships, we're based out of Reno, offices in Phoenix too, and remote. I'm on the agent side. So if you're looking to be a freight agent, like to learn more about that, I'd love to chat with you. We have 2 new team members too. So if you don't like me for whatever reason, still definitely learn about HT Ships. You have 2 other recruiters now on our team you could talk to. Sales-CRM, and we said a bunch about them in the intro. They were our first sponsors. I've known Josh for over a year now. Will is a customer of Sales-, freight-specific CRM. They're getting into really breaking into the mid-size market. I've gotten to meet him, Josh, his sales guy, Drew. We met in Birmingham too. Just great people.
Yeah, great group, man. They've got great software and they're continuing building it out, and they've got great customer service. So if and when you need something done, Josh, they'll respond immediately. We got our banner sponsor, Tavs Capital Factoring Company. If you are in the market for a new factoring company, or you just want to get educated, Tavs has fantastic content on their website. The Two Dawgs page has been posting it for a couple weeks now. Great group there.
Yeah. Well, we'll be back next week with another episode. To be determined on that, but we have some good guests in the pipeline, and have a great rest of the week, everybody.
Yeah, stay tuned for the pages for any updates.
Sounds good. All right, see you all.